Hi, welcome. You found this video because you're dealing with anxiety, anxious thoughts, panic, restlessness, or you just want to relax and maybe fall asleep. To fully absorb my story, it's important that you calm down a bit to really listen. So find a comfortable spot, or if you're already in bed, lie on your back and relax. Relax your arms, your back, and let your head become heavy on your pillow. Now, what you are going to do is just listen. Close your eyes and listen to all the sounds around you. It can be anything. The hum of the world, like someone coughing, a bird, my voice, the background music. The important thing is that you listen without judging the sounds. No sound is better than another. Just recognize them as sounds you hear and let them go. Now, see your thoughts as sounds in the same way. Your thoughts at this moment are like the music you hear, the cough you heard, or the creaking of a bed. At this moment, your thoughts are just sounds. Don't give them any value and let them go. We're not going to do complicated breathing exercises because breathing happens naturally. The funny thing about breathing is that it's a process you can partly control. And partly it happens automatically without you needing to think about it. It's actually quite amusing that such an important part of your life is managed by your subconscious and maybe also your higher consciousness. I want you to exhale now. And as you exhale, think about letting go. Because that's what exhaling represents. You let everything go. Breathe in again and hold your breath for a moment. Exhale and let go. It's nothing more than letting go. Breathe in slowly again. Fill your lungs as much as possible and hold it for a moment. Don't exhale yet, hold it. And exhale and let everything go. When you inhale again, do the same thing. Breathe in slowly. Let everything in. Hold it. and let everything go. Good. Now just keep breathing, and you will see that as you do this more often, you will breathe better and get more oxygen. It's about letting go and bringing it back in, and letting go again. Now that you're hopefully a bit calmer, I want to talk about something else. Not about your current panic or anxiety feelings, but first to understand the concept of time as I understand it. Much panic and anxiety are related to a fear of a future scenario, what might happen, what you think will happen, or it could be something from the past that bothers you, that you keep thinking about and causes panic. But let's first talk about the concept of future, past, and present. If we look at the past, you could compare it to an airplane flying in the sky. A blue sky, and you see a trail of condensation behind the engines. It's the same as with a boat. After it sails, you see a wake behind it. That's actually the past. You can see it, you can talk about it, but it has happened. The airplane flies by, and you can't go back to that trail behind the airplane. And the future is actually simple, because the future doesn't exist. The only thing that truly exists is the present moment. When I feel anxious or panicked or have heavy thoughts, it's usually about something that would happen in the future. But then I realize the future doesn't exist. Just as you can't go back to that wake or condensation trail behind the airplane, you can't go to the place where the airplane should land. It won't be there. Of course, there's a route you want to take, but it doesn't mean it will succeed or happen exactly like that. The airplane isn't there yet, so it doesn't exist. You can go to the airport, but as long as the plane is not at the airport, it didn't happen. The only thing that exists is where you, or in this case the plane, is at that moment. Sometimes it helps to realize this by, for example, clapping your hands. Or like some Native American tribes do, stomping on the ground and throwing your elbows and arms back and say, "Ah!" Then you know, I'm in the now. Pull your thoughts from the future. Pull your thoughts from the past, and I am here in the now. And that's what often happens with panic and anxiety. the thoughts, they are just thoughts. And if you think too much, you are alone. Alone with your thoughts. And actually, that's just background noise, right? Like when we started to relax, those thoughts go round and go nowhere. So, at that moment, try to realize, think of that airplane. The past is not longer there. You can look at it, but it's not longer there. And the future isn't there. It has yet to happen. So, at this moment, the only thing you have is the now. And if you think a bit further, you can talk about the past and the future, but actually they both take place in the now. At the moment you think about it, at the moment you talk about it, at the moment you plan to do or say something, it all takes place in the now. So, you contemplate about the future and the past in the now. And that's something important to remember. Because you have probably imagined scenarios during your anxious moments or panicky feelings about how something will go, what the outcome of something will be. And it's not my intention to belittle every problem you have by saying, live in the now. That's not my intention. What I want to say is that it's sometimes good to think about or find a solution to your problem, but realize that when you're doing that, it can only be in the now, because there's no other time than now. And hopefully, you can take some of the pressure off yourself. Because you absolutely can't determine what will happen in the future. That's beyond anyone's control. The future has yet to happen and could turn out very differently. Very differently, I mean, than what your thoughts are telling you now. So try to center those feelings in the now, and then you have the power to make good decisions. Probably also decisions at the moment the situation actually happens. And maybe you will make very different decisions than what's currently going through your mind. That's why I try to say the future doesn't exist and the past doesn't either. The only thing that exists is the now. Finally, I want to talk a bit about a broader perspective on how I use a worldview to have less trouble with anxious or restless feelings. And that is to look at what life actually is. Because we come into this world, we are born, And from the Western perspective, the Western culture in which I grew up, it's natural and nice to hold on to something. Something that gives certainty, grip. But if we look at the Eastern, and mainly the Buddhist perspective on life, they see life more as water you enter. And that means if you fall into a river, and you are born, you come into the life, into the water, then it's naturally not wise to hold on, to cling onto something tightly, because that usually means you sink quickly. And think, for example, of a cat. A cat, I've seen it happen myself, when a cat falls from the 3rd or 4th floor, it doesn't tense up. It tries to hold onto nothing, it relaxes, and eventually lands more or less on its feet. In the case I saw, luckily it survived. And that's actually the same as thinking about life. Our natural reaction, especially during a moment of fear or panic, is to want to hold on to something. Maybe an image, a person, especially with feelings of loss that you've been thrown into. And then it can help not to hold on, but to let yourself be carried by the stream and start swimming. It's like being caught in an undercurrent in the sea. What you're rightly taught is don't swim against it, but let yourself be carried and try to swim out sideways. And that's actually the same in this case. I hope you have become a bit calmer by now. It will help to do those breathing exercises more often, or actually meditation. A meditative form of breathing where you close your eyes and make your hearing your primary sense. So listen to the sounds around you. Recognize and try to hear as many sounds as possible. Don't give them value like this is a nice sound or this is an annoying sound. They are all simply sounds. The same goes for thoughts. You can recognize the thought, but just like with sound, don't give it value. It's on the same level as sounds, thoughts. It's all the same. You hear it and let it go. The goal is ultimately to stop thinking. Just like at the beginning, when I explained about breathing, it's something very important. But you don't need to think about it, and it still happens. And if you think less in your head, so fewer thoughts wandering around, then you can trust yourself, your body, and your actions more. Because everything that feels natural, like breathing or raising your hand. For example, if I now say, move 2 fingers on your left hand, or move your right foot, you can do that directly without having to think deeply about it. So, if you're struggling with anxiety or restlessness, panicky feelings, try to get these thoughts out of your head first by doing these exercises and realizing that if something feels good and natural, it will probably happen by itself, and you don't have to force it too much.